I've been coaching people through sleep struggles for 8 years. And in that time, I've seen hundreds of bedtime routines. Some of them beautiful, some of them accidentally making things worse, and some of them, I have to be honest, making me wonder how the person's functioning at all. And today I want to walk through 4 real routines from past clients. I've changed their names, but everything else is exactly as they described it to me. And I'm going to read each one through a simple lens. And this is a routine that is working for you, a routine that's working against you, and somewhere in the middle. So by the end of this video, I promise you're going to see your own sleep routine differently. And before we get into the routines, here's how I'm going to rate them. I'm not going to grade these on whether they follow the traditional sleep hygiene standards. Instead, I'm reading each one through one question only in this lens. Is this routine telling your nervous system it's actually safe to let go into sleep, or is it quietly sending an opposite message? And the rating is simple. It's working for you, actively signaling to the body that it's safe to rest, not helping, not hurting, so neutral, filling time, not moving the needle in any special way, or working against you, quietly creating pressure or stimulating without the person realizing it. And that's the whole system. So let's get into this. All right, so Jason's routine, and here's what he shared. I start at 7 p.m. by taking my magnesium glycinate, L-theanine, Apigenin stack, and at 8 p.m. I put on my blue light glasses, switch all lights to red bulbs. 8:30, I do a 20-minute NSDR session, non-sleep deep REM for those that don't know it. And then do 10 minutes of box breathing. 9 p.m. I check my Oura Ring data from the night before, and I log in with my sleep journal spreadsheet, the HRV, the REM percentage, the deep sleep minutes, overall score. If my scores were low, I'll add a little extra glycine before bed. 9:30, I do a full body stretch routine, about 25 minutes, following a specific protocol I found on YouTube. I take my second magnesium dose. I get my 8 sleep mat. Yeah, white noise, brown noise. Okay. You guys can keep reading this, but it's just, you kind of get the gist. Scores improving, but I still wake up exhausted and anxious most mornings. All right. So I wanted to start by saying that I respect Jason's commitment here, right? This is someone who genuinely cares about his sleep and is taking it seriously. And some of this is actually solid. The NSDR, the light management, the temperature of things, there's real science behind that. But Jason, if I were to ask you here, does getting ready for bed feel relaxing, or does it feel like a job, right? Because reading this, it feels like a job. The 3-hour job with very specific protocols, a supplement regimen, a data review, and a 25-minute stretch routine that you found on YouTube. Here's the thing that tells me everything I need to know, though. He's checking his Oura Ring data at 9 p.m., the night before he goes into sleep. Think about what that does. And not just if you're checking it at 9 p.m., but just in general. You're reading your performance review right before the performance. Your last score is now in your head as you're trying to wind down. And if the score wasn't bad enough, which for Jason it often is, you're going into bed already anxious about repeating it. That's not a wind down. That's a threat signal. The supplement stack is the second thing. Taking 6 compounds to make you sleep sends your nervous system one quiet message. My body can't do this on its own. Something is wrong. I need a chemical help to get me to function. That message is the opposite of safety. And then there's this line, the one that tells me the whole story. Scores are improving, but he's still waking up exhausted and anxious. So the scores moved. Jason didn't. Because sleep scores don't measure whether your nervous system feels safe, you can optimize every metric and still wake up feeling like you lost that fight, which is exactly what's happening here. So the number one change here is put the Oura Ring in the drawer for 2 weeks. Stop reading the report card before you take the test. See what happens when you remove that evaluation component and just rest. So it shouldn't be a surprise to hear I'm deeming this one working against you. Not because the habits are inherently bad by any means, but because the relationship to the habits has become an evaluation, and the routine isn't the problem. It's the pressure around the routine that's adding to the pressure to go to sleep and perform instead of let go into rest. All right, let's look at Marcus's routine. I'll be honest, I don't really have a routine. I'm a founder, and most nights I work until about 11 or midnight, sometimes later if there's something urgent. I have a couple glasses of wine around 9 or 10, decompress, It's the only thing that actually helps me feel like I can switch off. Interesting. Scroll Instagram or watch something on my phone until bed, until I feel sleepy, usually about an hour or so. Fall asleep fine most nights, but wake up between 3 or 4 a.m., can't get back to sleep. That's pretty common. Mind just starts running, work stuff, things I need to do, stuff I'm worried about, lie there for an hour or two, then give up and start work again. Feel like garbage, try melatonin. Don't really have time for a big routine, just want to know 1 or 2 things that would actually make a difference. Boom. Marcus, I see you, and I want you to know I'm not going to judge you, and I understand exactly why this is happening, why it feels like the only option. The wine first. I know it feels like it's turning down the volume, and in the short term, it does. Alcohol is a sedative, and it will help you fall asleep, but here's what you're doing to yourself at night. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep, one of the most restorative stages. It also raises your core body temperature up, which is necessary to go the opposite direction to sleep. You have to drop a few degrees. And as your body metabolizes the alcohol, usually around 3 to 4 hours after drinking, it creates this rebound effect where your nervous system then activates. So the stress hormone of cortisol spikes and wakes you up. So 3 to 4 a.m. every night, that's not a coincidence, Marcus. That's wine wearing off. Second thing, going from full work mode at midnight to pillow with nothing in between isn't a bedtime routine. It's a crash landing. Your nervous system has been running at full capacity for 16 hours and you're asking it to drop on a dime. It can't. So it doesn't. And the thoughts you were out running all day catch up to you the moment you stop moving. And then this is the part that worries me the most. When you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't sleep, you start working again, which teaches your nervous system that being awake at 3 a.m. is productive. So it keeps waking up at 3 a.m. You're training the problem to repeat itself. And you ask for 1 thing or 2 things that would actually help. Here's the honest answer. There isn't a 1 or 2 things there. It's a pattern. But if I had to pick one to place, it would start with just a 20-minute transition between work and bed. Not some big full routine, but just 20 minutes where work is genuinely over. Not paused, over. Walk, shower, sit, anything. That transition is medicine. So the number 1 change here, 20-minute hard stop, work ends, something else begins. Maybe it's obvious, we're deeming this one working against you. The pattern is actively training the nervous system that night is an extension of the day. And 3 a.m. wake up will keep happening until something in the evening changes. All right, Claire, let's see what you got. I don't know if my routine is interesting because it's pretty simple. I finish work around 6, have dinner with my family, and after dinner we have a rule. No more work talk or phones at dinner or at the table or after. After 8, I run a bath, nothing fancy, just warm water. I sit in it for about 20 minutes. I don't bring my phone in. I just kind of think, or don't think. Just sit there. And after the bath, I make chamomile tea and either read a physical book or just sit with my husband talking about nothing particular. We're usually in bed by 9:30, 10. I fall asleep pretty quickly most nights. I had a period about 3 years ago where I couldn't sleep at all, really dark time personally. I kind of built this routine instinctively coming out of that. I don't know if I'm doing anything wrong or right. I just know it feels good. Cool, Claire, I love this. Not because it's complicated, because it isn't. And that's the whole point. Let me walk you through what you actually built here because I don't think you fully realize it. The no phones after dinner rule, this isn't primarily due to blue light. It actually does is create a psychological boundary between you and the external world and your home life. And that phone represents everything out there, work, news, other people's life, demands. Putting it down is a genuine act of coming home to yourself. Your nervous system registers this differently. And now the bath. This one is fascinating. Warm water raises your skin temperature. And when you get out of the bath, there's a rapid cooling that follows, mimicking the natural core temperature body drop your body uses to trigger sleep at night. So you've been using a temperature manipulation technique without realizing it, and it works. The science backs this completely. But the most important part of this bath is actually not the temperature. It's sitting there without your phone For 20 minutes, just thinking or not thinking. You're giving your system 20 minutes to process the day with zero stimulation. No input, no demands, just you. That is genuinely rare and it's powerful. The chamomile and the conversation and nothing with your husband, this is called co-regulation. Being in the physical presence of someone safe with no agenda is one of the most effective nervous system techniques we have out there. And it's available to all humans. You're not doing this as a technique, you're just living well. But the effect on your nervous system is real. And then you came out of a dark period 3 years ago and instinctively built this. That's the part that gets me every time. You didn't read a study, you didn't find some protocol, you listened to yourself, and your body told you exactly what it needed, and you honored it. That's the whole philosophy, right there. So the number one change, nothing. Keep doing exactly this. The only thing I'd maybe add is just understanding why it works. So when life gets busy and the routine gets squeezed, you know what to protect first. That bath and the no phone rule are the highest leverage pieces here. Guard those. So we're giving this one working for you, for sure, across the board. This is what a bedtime routine looks like when you've built it around your specific nervous system safety rather than some sleep hygiene list. Clearly for Claire, better sleep is not about this routine. All right, last routine we're going to get into. This is Melissa. Okay, so I know this is probably bad, but here's what actually happens. I have 2 kids under 5, a full-time job. The kids go to bed at 7:30, and that's genuinely the first time of the day that actually belongs to me, so I stay up. I watch whatever I want, I eat whatever I want, I scroll, I do nothing productive, and I love it. The problem is I can't make myself stop. One more episode turns into 3. I tell myself I've been going to bed at 10 and somehow it turns to 1. I tried alarms, try leaving the phone in the room, nothing sticks. Second the kids are down, there's this thing in me that refuses to give up at night. I know I need to sleep, I want to sleep, but I feel like if I go to bed at 10, I've just been a mom and an employee all day, and then when I went to sleep and that was my whole life, boom. Melissa, before I say anything, I want you to know I'm not going to tell you to go to bed earlier because this isn't a bedtime problem. Let's read that last sentence back. If I go to bed at 10, I've just been a mom and an employee all day, and then I went to sleep and that was my whole life. That last sentence is not a sleep complaint. That last sentence is a woman telling you that her life doesn't have enough of her in it. And the night, the scrolling, the staying out, the refusing to let the day end, that's not self-sabotage. That's self-preservation, the only version of it available to her right now. And here's what I want Melissa to understand. What she's reaching for at midnight, it's real. The need is completely legitimate. She deserves time that belongs to her. She deserves to feel like a person and not just a role. The problem isn't a need. It's that the way she's meeting it isn't actually meeting it. The passive scrolling at midnight stimulates without restoring. It fills time without filling her. So the need stays unmet. The desperation to stay up gets stronger the next night, and the cycle will continue. Not because you're undisciplined, because the real need is never actually being satisfied. The solution is not a better bedtime routine here. It's a fuller day. Melissa doesn't need earlier bedtime. She needs 15 minutes during the day that belongs entirely to her. Not productive, not useful to anyone else, not part of a new routine, just hers. And when that exists, when the need is met during the day, the desperation to steal it at midnight begins to fade. So the number one change here is not a bedtime thing. It's one protected window during the day, even just 15 minutes, that belongs entirely to Melissa. Not a walk to be more productive, something that exists purely because she wants it to. So this one is a not helping, not hurting. And I want to be careful here because this feels a little generous. The sleep loss is real and it's compounding, but I can't rate this routine as working against her because the routine is not the problem itself. The life underneath the routine is. And that deserves a more honest conversation than just a red light. 4 routines, 4 completely different people, and one question running underneath all of it. Is your evening telling your nervous system that it's safe to let go? Or is it quietly sending the opposite message? So drop your bedtime routine in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about what you're doing, and I'll tell you honestly what I think, and I'll do a full review on some of these that get shared. And beyond that, if you're looking to go deeper than a bedtime routine, if you want to really understand what is at the root of your sleep struggle, my sleep support program is where I do a lot of this work. It's over 20 courses covering the biological, the psychological, and the emotional root causes of sleep. And there's a personalized sleep roadmap for each person that joins, a 7-day nervous system reset course, and a live call with me each week. There's over 1,500 people inside who are doing exactly what you are and now finding rest. So the link's in the description. I hope to see you inside. Till next time, rest well.